We're joined now by the Treasury Secretary of the United States, Steven Mnuchin. Secretary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
I want to start with what Rick just mentioned and also this basket of economic data that's been eroding over the last week. The first time that we've seen things like retail sales and consumer confidence fall since this recovery began because the virus is surging across the South and West. How is the administration adjusting its growth forecast for the second quarter based on that?
Well, let me just say, as I've said before, the traditional economic models really don't work in this scenario, since this was a scenario where we closed down the economy and we're reopening, and it has nothing to do with traditional economic problems. The number one issue that I'm focused on is jobs. We've recreated 8 million jobs in the last 2 months. People thought we were going to have as high as 40 million unemployed. The highest we ever got to was 22, and we're now down 8 million from there. So that's what the President and I are focused on. Our job won't be done till we get everybody back to work.
And, you know, the Biden campaign is taking aim at the Trump administration on some of those very statistics, noting that no party has won the presidency with net jobs lost or with unemployment above 8%. Can you fix those numbers before Election Day? What's the strategy?
Well, there's never been a point in the history of time that we've closed down the U.S. economy. So I don't think those traditional numbers are important. What I do think is we are rebuilding the economy. The blue chip indicators for the third quarter is expecting 17% GDP. We're recreating jobs. We're providing a lot of liquidity to American business and American workers. So the president's economic plans are really working, and we still have more work to do.
The Congressional Budget Office has suggested that that rapid rebound in growth in the second half would assume that social distancing measures go to zero. But we're not seeing that happen. So is there going to be a bite taken out of this growth? And if so, how much?
Well, I think we have certain hotspots. We'll deal with those hotspots. People are beginning to learn how to be able to work in this environment. Certain businesses have recovered very effectively. Certain businesses will take longer. Just as I heard some comments on the airline industry, I think we're very pleased in the work that we've done at Treasury to help the airline industry. It's strategically important to keep it together, but that's clearly an industry. Restaurants, hotels, airlines are clearly going to be areas where they're going to need more help.
Let's talk a little bit about the airlines, because the Treasury just announced this week that you've reached terms with most major carriers for $25 billion in loans as sort of a second tranche of aid for that industry. Does that require those companies to maintain jobs?
There are certain requirements in the PSP. There are different requirements in the loan agreements. This was all negotiated with Congress. And again, we've signed loan agreements. In many cases, I think many of these airlines aren't going to need to use them, and we'll finance them in the capital markets. But we wanted to make sure that the airlines had backstops so that they had liquidity, and that's something we've been very focused on. And between the payroll support and the loans, we've created a lot of stability for that industry.
But specifically, some of the commentary that we've gotten from the airline industry is still dire. I mean, you just heard the Delta CEO has renewed caution for passenger travel in the near future. United has said that it could lay off a third of its workforce. I mean, would you consider these programs a success if these businesses stay afloat and they don't buy back stock and executive pay is limited, but there are still massive layoffs?
I think all the airlines want to maintain as many people as they can employed. I know that's very, very important. Some of these airlines have never had furloughs. They're committed to that. Other airlines are in more difficult economic scenarios. So I've spoken to all the CEOs. I know they want to keep as many employees as they can. That's their objective. I do consider the programs a success. We need to keep these airlines. When the economy continues to rebound, we need to have air travel. I've been briefed on the progress we're making on vaccines. I'm highly optimistic that we're going to have great progress by the end of the year. So I think as we get through this, we're going to need to make sure that our airlines are there for the rebound, and that's what we've been doing.
And I know between now and the end of the year, you're going to be working with Congress hand in glove to institute some new programs, reauthorize some existing programs to get more money into the hands of Americans and these companies. On the stimulus check specifically, the president has said that he supports another round of stimulus. Leader McConnell has said there should be a $40,000 income threshold. Is that a level that the administration supports?
Well, I'm not going to go into the specific details today on that, but what I would say is we do support another round of economic impact payments. You know, in most cases, those are not checks, it's direct deposits, and we can get that into hardworking Americans' bank accounts very, very quickly. The level and the criteria we'll be discussing with the Senate. I had a very productive call with Mitch McConnell yesterday. Mark Meadows and I spoke to him. And as soon as the Senate gets back, we're going to sit down on a bipartisan basis with the Republicans and the Democrats, and it will be our priority to make sure between the 20th and the end of the month that we pass the next legislation.